What's up, AHM? What's up, Cole? We're just getting live started, so maybe not doom scroll. Maybe you can answer the question. There are many, many billionaires in China. How many billionaires? It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Are there a lot of billionaires in China? But are they really billionaires? And see if you know what I mean by that. Does China really actually have billionaires? It's kind of an interesting question that could probably go both ways. Yeah, HM, a lot of them have real estate and businesses, but you also have to think, do they really have $1 billion? Do you know where I'm going with that? No other country would allow illegals to walk in and get free housing. Oh boy, here we go. Here we go with the red stuff. I'm a fierce independent, my friend. I don't do the red versus blue nonsense. You're getting distracted. It's all about the haves versus the have-nots. It's about special interests taking over our democracy, billionaires, corporations, and if you're going to just argue about illegals, you are missing the point and you're falling into the trap, my friend. Falling into the trap. There are no other countries that would allow illegal in. Well, you don't do your research either, my friend. China has a lot of problems with illegal immigration as well. Don't say they don't. And a lot of other countries do as well. So does Europe. So migration and immigration is not something unique to the United States, my friend. Whose side will the military take? Nick, you got the number 2 gifter badge. Thank you very much for as more people are joining. I know it's late. I'm not going to do that long of a live. I want to have some guests in here to answer this question because it's a serious question. Like we already have, nonstop. There's never stops with someone immediately picking like immigration or gun rights or something that those are important. I'm not going to say ridiculous, but you're missing the point. You're being divided. The point is that we need to unite around the real threats to our democracy. And that is, as one of the politicians in Texas says, the biggest threat, the minority that's the biggest threat is the billionaires. That's what I think the quote is. There is a threat by a minority, and it's the billionaires. That's the problem. No other country would allow 14 million and walk in and get free health. They don't get free health and housing, dude. Like, I don't know what you're listening to, but they don't get free health and housing or any of that. Against the law for anybody other than asylum seekers, which is a much, much smaller number, to actually get any sort of benefits. Illegal immigrants who are illegal, it's against the law. They don't get anything. So yeah, I'm delusional. Okay, my friend, I'm delusional. You are factless. You don't have facts. They're not on your side. And you can keep living in your red MAGA land hat, and that's fine. Go for it. Be your best you. But it's laughable when I get people like you, just trolling, and you have no credibility whatsoever because you don't know what you're talking about. It's really simple. You want to challenge me to debates? I got fact checker right here on the computer. You're going to be wrong. Well, why wouldn't you? Because most people who think it's okay to take away people's humanity are mostly MAGA. So why do I assume that? Because I'm about 99% probably going to be right. That's why I assume that. So if you're not MAGA, you're far right way. And if you're not far right, you're just an indecent human being and you're somewhere else on the political spectrum. Because I didn't even start talking about immigration on this live. You went to immigration. This live is not about immigration, and you just started chatting up comments about immigration. Like, where's your head at, man? Like, what are you talking about? This is about billionaires and special interests trying to rule us. And will we take government back or will we capitulate? That's what the topic is. So, troll away if you want to. It's kind of funny. You're just making a fool out of yourself, whether you're anonymous or not. I don't care. You're just still making a fool out of yourself. It's so sad seeing people so uneducated in their own law. I say this as an immigrant. Dems have the most billionaires. It's not the far right. It's walked in. Okay. All right. Anyway, so does anyone want to join as a guest and talk about, are we going to let billionaires and special interests to rule us? Will we take back government, or are we just going to capitulate? And if you're new to this channel or this account, You know that I am a staunch independent. Oh, cool. We got NJ Nightmare. You're going to be the first to join. Mr. Global, welcome back. If you want to join in, jump in, of course. You're always welcome. But also, if it's late and I understand you don't want to get caught on the live, that's fine as well. So, NJ, so I'm thinking New Jersey Nightmare. Are you a nightmare in New Jersey? I don't
My
know.
life is a nightmare in New Jersey, but that's a
Oh,
whole
look
other
at
topic.
that. Nice.
That's a whole other topic. We'll get to that another day.
Okay, maybe I'll do a live on that, right?
Yeah. Here's the
The
thing.
nightmare wives of New Jersey.
Why is it New Jersey? New Jersey is a nightmare, but that's a whole other argument. That's a whole other discussion. I
Okay.
want to keep to the topic here for a moment.
All right, please do.
Uh, Trump, is the end, is a puppet for the extreme right and the extreme rich, the powers, as we talked about, the elites, the one percenters, and yes, a big chunk of hoping when we talk about Project 2025. Now we're talking about the religious, truly religious extremists, and they're the ones who make me worried most.
Yeah,
Uh,
I go back and forth between the corporate monarchs, the corporate billionaires from Silicon Valley, the Peter Thiels and so forth, versus the Christian nationals.
well, Teal is both.
Is he? Is he a Christian national?
Yeah, he is. His fingerprints are all over Project 2025, my brother.
Well, they are over 2025, which is mostly the Cambridge Institute and Heritage Foundation, etc. I'm surprised they don't know how deep he goes with the Christian nationalists, because of course Stephen Miller is more on the Christian nationalist side and not as deep with Peter Thiel, and of course JD Vance is just Peter Thiel's little puppet boy.
Yeah, but let's talk about what really set these guys off. What really sent them down this path. Let's be frank. America decided to elect a man who just happened to be black, the president of the United States in 2008. And these guys lost their effing mind after that.
Yep. Because the whole
Like
thing
if
was
we're gonna,
based on a lie, right? The whole thing was based on a lie. And I'm not going to always sit here and defend Blue, but in that case, obviously, he perpetuated a lie for 8 years that that Obama wasn't an American.
right, but they really wanted to apply. We all know what they really wanted to apply. Like at the end of the day, after all these years, I've come to this conclusion. It's been a long time, man. It's been, from 2008 till now. It's not like last week. And when you really look at all over in its totality, from where it started there to where we are now, it's clear that the religious right lost their minds when it just so happened a black man was president of the United States. I firmly believe in my heart we committed a sin that was beyond forgiveness. And they have decided that they want to tear it all down and rebuild in their own image because of that sin.
Yeah.
In their minds.
Well, I think they looked at it, and we got another guest here as well, but you can just hold on a minute if you can, Acorn.
Cool.
Is that they saw an opportunity, right? Peter Thiel and the PayPal mafia, I think David Sachs, Thiel, Musk, and a bunch of other guys that have been part of the PayPal mafia since 2000, they wanted to disrupt government back then. They wanted to take over the dollar as the global reserve currency and have a PayPal sort of currency. They've always had very heavy anti-government leanings. And then, of course, you had Obama come in, and the Christian right have always been looking for opportunities as well. And it just so happened over time, like Peter Thiel didn't recognize how he could leverage Trump as much as he could until about probably around 2014, 2015. I think that's when the light bulb truly went on and said, well, listen, this guy is so disruptive, the most disruptive political force ever. Maybe we can leverage him and use him as a vehicle. And I had Christian nationals tell me just a couple of weeks ago, and this guy was really bright and very well-spoken and knew his subject matter. And he point blank said it. He's like, Trump's a vehicle for us.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always been. They're riding him exactly to where they want to be. And they've gotten right exactly where they wanted to be. And
Yep.
like I said before, I said it down in the comments. Okay, if we're going to be talking about to the next step, using the law to bring charges against the president for treason, which I believe was it's Article 2, Section 4 talks about can remove not only him, but his entire administration.
Well, you have the 25th, right? And Article
No,
2.
25th. No, 25th. You only remove him. That's the problem. We can't just remove him. That's the biggest mistake we can make. We got to clear house if we're going to do this right. And listen, if we're going to do this right to bring some sort of equality, if we were going to try to keep this country united, then we'd have to ask ourselves: should we get rid of everybody on both sides and the president, clear house, have brand new people who's never been in government, who at least has never been in those positions. Anyone who got fired, regardless of party, is not allowed to be get back in, and we start with all brand new people.
Yep. Have you watched my lives before?
No.
Wow. Okay. Really interesting. So there's a plan right up there, tinyurl.com/civicsplain. And some people will say it's impossible. I'm just going to synthesize what you said a little bit more in my words because it's really close. And Acorn, then you're up. So my whole platform is based on eliminating corruption from the political system, right? And that means eliminating all special interest money, corporations, and billionaire influence and their lobbyists from government. And that has to happen. And that can't happen just by overturning Citizens United, because that's just not the only thing. That's to have a 28th Amendment that says that all elections need to be publicly funded by individuals. Then the 29th Amendment would be that being a politician cannot be a career. It needs to be a temporary civic service, and that means term limits. Those are the two amendments that I am trying to voice my thoughts on every day and saying, and people think it's impossible, it'll never happen. But the only way you can have it happen is because neither the Democratic Party or the Republican Party will do it. But if 50 to 70 million people came together on those two issues and voted in an all new generation of temporary public servants, meaning regular Americans that have moral integrity, which would appeal to both sides, or it should for most of both sides, that's how you would change it. And I know it sounds like a big lift, and it is, but maybe we're at that time where, because in 1992, there was an opportunity for something like that to happen with the Reform Party.
Yeah, well, that's long and gone, and we have to talk about the now more than ever,
Well, I think it's
especially with
important.
what's going on.
They're really important because everyone says it's impossible, it'll never happen. But if they go back to 1992, before Ross Perot pulled out of the presidential election, he was polling at 40%. Now, he was just one individual. The Reform Party was not, it showed that it could have happened, not that it almost happened, but he did get 20 million votes and he was polling at 40%. So it's important for Gen Z and young millennials to realize it wasn't that far away from actually making something like that happen. So it's important to first set, because everybody thinks it has to be the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. And from a practical perspective today, that is true. But tomorrow, it does not have to be true. Acorn, what's up,
I
man?
see what you're saying.
Sorry, go ahead.
I guess from my point of view, I look at 1992, I look at the 90s. I'm 54 years old, and it just feels like a different universe at that time than where we are now. Like it feels like really when you look at all the crazy crap that has gone down from 9/11 onward, we've just been on this crazy man. Humanity's been on this self-destructive course. I'm not talking in terms of nations. I'm just talking about who we are as a people, as in humanity, as in the world,
Yeah,
as in human beings.
but
Period.
it is relative. If you think back to that time well, and I remember it well, if you think back, it's
Sure, so do I.
relative, right? So it seemed also similar to today, but obviously we only know what we know, and we only know what period of time that we're currently in. Even back then, there was an incredible divide between right and left, and that's why that had an opportunity to happen. Yes, it's a magnitude worse today, but that's all relative, right?
Uh, that was a long before time. A T group from the Middle East hijacked 3 planes and slammed them
Sure.
into buildings that the whole world
It is a
saw
different
and
world.
everyone felt.
There's no different. The world has changed a lot since then. I agree. All right, I'm going to bring in Acorn for a minute. Welcome to Hangout, NJ Night,
Yeah, absolutely.
NJ
Thank you.
Nightmare. But Acorn, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm a woman, just in case.
Okay, yeah, I did kind of speak to you almost like you were a guy, right? Sorry about that.
It's okay. I think
And there's my apologies, because 50% of this audience is generally women, so I need to be. I realize, and which is awesome. I love having such a smooth divide between women and men.
And I get it a lot. I think Acorn might be just a masculine sounding name or something until people hear me talk.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like the gender of your audience or whatnot. And I'm personally really interested in research on resistance movements. So I'm gonna touch on. There's research that shows when 50% or more of the frontline resistors are women, the outcomes are more successful and after the resistance is like after they get what they were aiming for, the aftermath is better off as well, like for everyone. And um, when movements have at least 50% women, they are 11 times larger than if they didn't.
Well, let me
If
ask
they,
you.
if,
So, if that's true, and I don't know, I'm not saying, I'm not arguing, I'm just taking the counterpoint for a moment. Why is it not that it's completely relatable in terms of resistance, but in elections, I believe there's more women that vote now in a general election than men do. And that's not transforming into voting the last two Democratic women in place. Like the last two women candidates for the Democrats pretty much got, well, Hillary obviously won more of the popular vote, but she lost the electoral vote, and Kamala lost the popular vote by 3 or 4 million. I don't know if there was any correlation there or not.
yeah, I'm talking about civil resistance, which is outside of like electoral politics, outside of like voting and lobbying and petitioning, and I'm talking about resistance, which is generally outside of the current system. And
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So how do
so
we get, so that means if my number, it's actually could be a lot less than 50 to 70 million. I use 50 to 70 million because that would mathematically would absolutely do what NJ Nightmare said and I said about the opportunity to replace all existing career politicians. But in terms of the convention of states, it could be even, let's say around 35 million, I believe. So that means we would need, roughly anywhere from 20 to 30 million women who would want to do this.
yeah, again, that's inside the system what you're talking about. So I guess maybe I'm on the wrong panel because
Oh, no, you're talking about exterior resistance. You're talking
yeah, I'm
about,
talking about not using elections, not lobbying our elected officials, not petitioning. I'm talking about things that would be outside of the system.
all right, in your research, when that has happened and there's been external resistance, has that same society or same government not come back, but has the government that has taken its place ever been more democratic and better off than it was previously?
Yeah, and it's not my research, it's the research by Erica Chenoweth. I don't know if you've heard of this researcher before or not.
I've heard her name before, but I'm not familiar with the research.
Yeah, you've heard of the 3.5% rule?
Yes, I've heard of that rule. Yes.
That comes from Chenoweth. So a lot of people have heard of that rule. That's just one small part of the research that they've done. Their pronouns are they, them. So if I say she, her,
Okay.
I'm making a mistake.
Well, I don't mind
Um,
alternative views, but I am definitely on the side. Like, if you burn the house down, if you try and the Constitution is the greatest document in representative democracy in history. It's not perfect, but it's really close. Like, it's a fabulous document. The problem with our government is not the piece of paper the rule of the land is written on. The problem is the people that are not adhering to those laws. So I am 100% for. I think it's just insanity to think about replacing the existing government in it, or the Constitution, because the laws themselves in the written document is still it's an amazing document. And the likelihood of us building back something better, if you go to some sort of revolution, is just absurdly dangerous, reckless, and unlikely to result in anything that's better, because you have 370 million people who can't agree on a lot of stuff in this country. It's a very developed country at this point. And the likelihood that it's not taken over by an authoritarian or autocracy or dictatorship or fascist or communist is highly, highly unlikely.
so the research that I'm talking about isn't doesn't intend to harm anyone, so they're not going to burn anything down.
Okay. Yeah, I was using
Um,
it as a figure of speech too, just to be
yeah, yeah.
clear. Yeah.
Yeah, the research I'm talking about is removing a head of state, an incumbent national leader who is tending towards the autocratic, the authoritarian, the fascist.
We already have a way to do that, dude, through the Convention of States and the 25th Amendment. And there's ways to do that within the system. So I don't know why we'd want to go outside the guardrails.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely on the wrong panel. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ed. All right, Jessica, how are you?
25th Amendment, like I said,
Yeah, go ahead,
I'm
Ed.
sorry, just real quick, the 25th Amendment doesn't really apply here. We need to get rid of all of them, not just Trump. That's the problem.
That's true.
If we could just get rid of, we have to get rid of pretty much his entire administration, or we're screwed.
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point. The 25th Amendment would be a band-aid at best, and it doesn't really solve the real problem. You're right. Jessica, how are you today?
Yeah.
Tonight? You there, Jessica? You're on mute. All right. Well, if you can hear us, you can come back and join us anytime, or you can stay here and we'll see what happens. So, NJ Nightmare, you're of course on board with, we need to replace all existing career politicians. Otherwise, the billionaires or special interests are going to completely take over, because functionally, we're already not functioning as a democracy anymore. We're functioning as a corporatocracy or as a plutocracy. But it might not be too late to take that back if we were to do both the things that we were talking about.
A very big,
yeah, it does seem so.
Underlining problem of theocracy.
That's right. That's right. They're not representing us. They're representing Pharmaceutical Central. Yep. And so I don't like that username. You're coming in and out, NJ Nightmare. I don't know if it's your connection or mine. I think it's your connection. My connection looks really strong. So I think your connection's not so great.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, better. Much clearer now.
Oh, crap. Oh, okay, good. No, I'm just simply saying that you're...
No, you left again. Somehow it cuts out.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Jessica, how are you?
Hi, I'm sorry. I missed you earlier.
That's all right. Nice. Thanks for joining the panel.
I just kind of happened across. I don't usually talk on TikTok at all.
Well, welcome. Glad you decided to talk. Well, I think so anyway.
Thanks. I hope so. So here's the thing. My husband was a federal worker. I say was.
Oh, boy.
On Friday, he lost his whole career.
How many years?
20.
Does he lose his pension? Does he lose his pension?
I don't know. We just have no way. I don't know what we do now.
What department?
We did not vote, either of us, for Trump. We didn't vote for him. Neither of us. That's probably why.
You think they actually looked deeper in social media?
I think they specifically hired. He doesn't really comment on social media. I think that they specifically went after veterans, and they specifically went after people who had a lot of institutional knowledge and could run stuff. He was a lead analyst for the IRS.
There you go. You take out your best and smartest people, you replace them in loyalists, and that's exactly part of Project 25. That's what they're trying to do at Project 2025, is remove all deep people who with deep knowledge in their particular departments, and fill it with loyalists.
Right. He wasn't a political, he didn't have any political, he's just rank and file. He'd just been there for a long time. He was lead analyst for 4 different programs for the whole country.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Very sorry to hear that.
He didn't even know he got fired Friday. He was too busy working, because his boss's boss is calling him because there's no one left there to do the job. So he's trying to keep...
I think you've all got a great lawsuit ahead of you. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Well,
I think everyone's going to be getting in line to sue the hell out of this orange Cheeto.
Well, here's the really messed up thing. I don't know what to do, because what they did was they sent him a notice that said, you're furloughed, but you have to come back after the shutdown's over until December 9th or something, and then you're fired.
Well,
So
maybe you
can't
can hold
go
out
get
hope
another
that something
job.
else will change. That sounds...
I think that's another commitment, another act of corruption that you're going to be able to nail him in court. Honestly.
Yeah, I honestly
So
don't even know what to
blatantly
do.
criminal.
Well, I would look up support groups that this has happened to, the same thing. I would suspect on Reddit and other places you can find. I would start digging in, researching on what other people have done, because like NJ Nightmare is saying, there has to be something there.
Yeah, I don't even
Yeah.
know. I'm just shell shocked, because he wasn't on anybody's list. He didn't have any kind of political. I mean, the IRS is not a democratic, you know what I mean?
Well, that's,
Sorry for your troubles, Jessica.
yeah.
I appreciate it. I guess I'm very upset at the moment.
Yeah,
You have
understandably.
absolutely every right to be upset. Yeah.
Like I have kids, like I don't know how to pay my mortgage. I don't know how to, like he's furloughed so he doesn't get paid, but he also can't go get another job, right? But like because they're who's going to hire him if they're going to bring him back and then fire him?
I'm sure groups are forming as we speak. As he was saying, he was right. TK was right on the money on this. Check with the support groups. There's to be a lot of talk. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys could pull off something huge. Something to be great for all of you.
So you think like on Reddit?
Reddit would be a great place to start. Absolutely. It's definitely it has to be there. There's going to be groups on Reddit for sure.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll try
And
that.
get the mobile app
Yeah,
as
when you
well.
think about the sheer number that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's like just trying to like fix his resume now. He's like, oh my God, I got to find another job. Like,
Well, breathe. I would suggest, I know it's a shock. You sound obviously like you're still in shock from it, and you should be, and you're upset and stressed and everything, rightfully so. Try and get through that phase as fast as possible, and then just get mad, of course, and then use that anger to do the research and to don't just lie down and accept it.
well, I am mad because I guess I was listening to what you were saying earlier, and I really feel like I don't understand their end game because if they kick out all of the, how would I put it, the foundations so that our government really doesn't function anymore. Because what my husband has said before is because he was supposed to have, the way RIFs are supposed to work is they go seniority, if you have veteran status, if you're disabled, he's a disabled veteran. And there's supposed to be an order to which they do it, and you're like allowed to like take another job within, they're supposed to move you if they can, and they haven't done any of that. And
Well-
so they're going to make the whole government fail. That's their end game. And I
Well,
don't
here's
understand
their
it.
end game. It's the I call them the corporate monarchs. It's a group of Silicon Valley billionaires, starting with Peter Thiel as sort of the head guy, and Elon Musk. What they want to happen is to basically make the government fail, and then they want to come in and say, you see, we're the only ones that can fix it. You need us. You need our technology. So whether it's Palantir or Peter Thiel and using their AI technologies to hoard information, and they want to then take over all government function or as many government functions as possible. So ends up being a non-separation between government and corporation. And these corporations, not all corporations, these few corporations that own all the media, own all the social media, and own all the AI companies. That's their end game. That's what I believe their end game is, to say, see, now we're the only ones that can fix this mess. And they'll come in with their egos. And a lot of people will actually say, I think so. We would rather have these really smart technology people run government because they say they can run it better. So why don't we give them a chance? And a lot of people are probably going to go along with that.
I guess I just don't feel like that's going to work.
They don't care if it works. They don't care if it works for society. They don't care if it works. All they care about is, are they going to get more control? And enrich themselves even more. These are not like rational people that think the way we do.
I mean, I guess I just feel like, so like, this is kind of crazy, but I was raised by somebody who had a master's degree in history. And so I don't know what he knows about history, but I talked to him today. And I said, when was the last time that something like this happened historically? And what was the end result? Like that they completely destroyed the government? Because I do believe that's their end goal. My husband said, well, by the time they get to me, you should think about just leaving the country because everything's really messed up at that point. Because they're functionally making it. If the IRS doesn't work, they don't get any money. Like that's just the bottom line. And he said the last time that happened that he could think of was maybe in Russia in like, I think it was the early like 1900s. They had a complete revolution because of it.
Yeah, that was what's the name of that revolution?
Is it the Bolshevik? Does that sound right?
Yeah, the Bolshevik. Yep, the Bolshevik
Okay.
Revolution. Yep, that's right.
So even when you look at somebody like Orban or Putin, they still have some kind of functioning government.
Well, not they place their people that are loyalists, and they give them different industries, right? So when Putin took over, The oligarch system is basically like the people who are loyalists to Putin said, you get the telecom industry, you get the oil industry, you get the gas industry, and they become really rich for a while. And then at some point they get too ahead of their skis and they might say something negative against Putin. And then, of course, Putin takes care of them. And then they'll do the same thing over and over. So that's the form of, it's a mafia state. It's just like, having the boss, and then obviously having the under people below the boss that control different regions, but in this case, it's different departments. So that could also be another type of form of government that these type of people look to do. They just want to control certain industries and control their fiefdoms.
Right, I get that. I just don't know, like, what's your opinion like? Do you think it's going to work?
I don't know
The
what,
military on our side.
yeah. I don't know what work really looks like. Like, what is it going to work like a constitutional, like a representative democracy or a constitutional republic? Absolutely not. It's going to work more like a republic or an empire, some sort of monarchy, something, or most likely a theocracy, right? And Jay Nightmare.
Yeah, sadly, more than likely, at least outward appearance to be a theocracy, but in reality, nothing but.
Yeah.
And something far worse.
What most likely is going to happen.
A nightmare.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's going to be The Handmaid's Tale for women in reality right off the bat. You look at the Esther Project, which is part of Project 2025, and any woman who reads that should bring a chill down their spine to levels they never before imagined. It's so shockingly disturbing at every level. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's going to be far right wing. It's going to be a combination of a religious fascist state that has, they claim that they want to bring it back to a Christian type state in conjunction with a corporatocracy or plutocracy, some sort of combination, because those are the two powers that seem to be really trying to manipulate and take over the democracy in its current form, right? Or into a new form. And I think they'll have to create some sort of, what's it called? What am I looking for? They'll have
Oligarchy?
No, oligarchy, a team, they'll have to come together and have a coalition. That's the word, some sort of coalition, because there's lots of special interest groups from foreign agents, from the NRA and all these smaller corporate ones. But those two are the standouts that are really nefarious and have psychopaths, literally. Peter Thiel's a psychopath, and many of them are sociopaths. And those people, psychopaths and sociopaths, especially the psychopaths, because they're very calculated with a lot of strategy, they're the ones that have had the strategy with J.D. Vance for a very long time. Like J.D. Vance is the successor who they would like to put in place because he's been groomed.
J.D. Vance.
Yeah, he's been groomed by these people just to be the puppet, right? And he was nominated by Trump as the vice president because these people, Elon Musk gave $400 million to Trump, and they went to the Oval Office and said, this should be your vice president. Here's why. Even though J.D. Vance used to say a lot of negative things about Trump, that's their play.
Right. So I get all that. I guess what I was more asking when I said, will it work, is do you think that enough people will resist it that their plan won't work, or are they going to get away with it?
I think it's very binary. Yeah, it's very binary. If the people don't come together, like 40, 50 million people come together, they will absolutely succeed, in my opinion. If enough people come together, then they will fail. And the biggest problem we have is that the 5 richest billionaires in the country control most of the wealth, an enormous amount of wealth. They control the vast majority of the media and social media, and they also control most of the AI companies. So on the second one, the media, they control the narrative. So they can continue to manipulate people and keep us fighting about immigration or gun rights or whatever they want, because the division keeps them in power and keeps us divided and distracted. So they control a lot of the narrative, they control the money, and they control future AI companies. So it's going to be a challenge, right? You can see when you control the narrative and you can continue to manipulate people, how much harder it will be to bring 40 or 50 million people together.
Right. So I understand what you're saying. I guess in my mind, the choice in my mind is, do you say, okay, well, maybe we can fight this, and at some point we get some sense of I don't know, normalcy back, or functioning government back, or at some point you say, I can't live here anymore and I have to go somewhere else because it's not safe.
I think you have
Like,
to.
I mean, I have a kid that has to live here. I don't want them to live under fascism. Like, I don't want to live in Russia.
Right, but it's not, number one, it won't happen quite as quickly. It could happen quite quickly. And obviously, moving out of the country has its own enormous risks, right? And I'm not an American apologist, but if you don't have citizenship in another country and so forth, I think you have to resist, right? The entire American ethos or American culture is based on fighting for freedom and liberty. And that has to be conveyed to every American. The entire culture is based on fighting for their freedom against the redcoats, right? And every generation up until the last three, meaning Generation X, my generation, Millennials, Generation Y, and Generation Z, these three generations haven't done anything to protect freedom and liberty yet. Every other series of generations before us has had to do so in various forms, from World War II, the Civil Rights Movement with the Boomers, World War II, World War I, going back to the 1800s. Every generation has had to do that. So if our ethos is really built on fighting back and taking control, Generation X with the Boomers and Y and Z are going to have to stand up. Otherwise, it'll go away because this is not a spectator sport. Democracy is a participation sport. For lack of a better word, it's not a game, it's not a sport, but it's participation, and you just have to continue. And even when it's someone that you disagree with because they argue about immigration, I think you have to try and appeal to being a decent human being and talk about either human rights, which is what the left wants to talk about as their main, and it's a great one. But I think it really has to be pointing that the common enemy here is the ultra wealthy. And if we can have that narrative, the No Kings protest is great. It's a narrative about no fascism and no authoritarianism, but half the country doesn't seem to give a shit about that, right? So I don't think that message brings people together. It actually continues to divide us. Sadly, it shouldn't, but there's a lot of people on the right that are okay with a dictatorship, which is sad, but they're not okay with the ultra wealthy taking over the country. I think that's what I try and do with this account, and that's my opinion and my observation. And I think most people agree with that. And I think there has to be some narrative around that. That has to be the message, that it's the little people versus the people that have everything, the haves versus the have-nots, the rich versus the poor, the rich and powerful versus normal people, et cetera, et cetera. I think that is the winning formula, to get enough people that are sensible and reasonable, no matter where they stand on the political spectrum, to start realizing that that's the root cause of every issue.
I mean, yeah, I agree
We
with
need
you.
full reformation.
Sorry, go ahead, NJ.
We basically need we need full reformation of the houses. We need full reformation of the White House. The military has to take our side. Without them, we're screwed.
Well, I think you're talking about if it's, I still think this, do it within the guardrails and do it through votes and protesting and just building enough awareness. If there's thousands of people like me preaching the same type of message and there's enough awareness over time that it gets out there, or it could be some generational leader steps up, like a Lincoln, a JFK, somebody really steps up and they can garner enough support quickly. It's going to have to be something. So it's either has to be an organic movement from the ground up, regular Americans starting to, create a wave, or it's going to be some generational leader that really steps up and do it. And otherwise, then it's more to like what you're talking about, NJ, is that you're talking about something a little bit more nefarious, I think.
I see ICE out in the streets causing terror every chance they get, and I see them wanting to trigger a mass event.
Yes.
So they can have their Insurrection Act, so they can bring about martial law, so the vote stops.
Right.
They'll either try to delay the midterm or cancel it altogether.
They want their
Trump wants to do
Reichstag.
that. People want to do that.
They want their Reichstag moment, right, where the communists burned down the parliamentary building in Germany, and then Hitler said, "Okay, no more political opposition. There will no longer be multiple parties." That's what they're looking for. Yes.
And I fear that they're all eyeing the No Kings protest to start some really psycho shit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be
Yeah, I
quite
don't
honest.
disagree with that because I
Now
know,
the
like,
question comes: if that happens, remember the movie Civil War from a couple years ago?
I didn't see it.
yes, my stepdad was in that movie as a reenactor.
Shut up, really?
Yeah, for real. That's who had the master's degree in history, for real. They
Dang.
used all reenactors for that movie. Like, they didn't pay them, but those guys all have the uniforms and everything. He
The
was
movie
really
was
into
okay,
it.
but it does make mention of the Antifa massacre that occurred.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, this stinks.
I mean, that movie
And
was
it just
quite,
felt
when did
like,
that come out? That was quite a few years ago.
There's also
no, it wasn't that long ago. It was a couple of years ago. Maybe
If I'm,
even last year. I
am
have
I,
to look that up.
no,
I
I'm
can't.
thinking
I
of
have a
an
phone.
older movie. There was an older Civil War movie that they used reenactors for.
I think one of the other plans, you can always tell what, I always say this quote: people always tell you and show you who they are. You just need to watch and listen. And, when Trump went to the lock her up, like, he just tests these little slogans every now and then. He just throws things out there and see what sticks. And that's what he did with Hillary and the lock her up movement. If you've noticed him talk and people like Stephen Miller talk, so we just talked about ICE maybe using this as opportunities to incite violence so they can do insurrection acts, like NJ Knight said. Another thing that Trump has talked about recently is maybe he'll want to, Zelensky, for instance, doesn't have elections because they're in a war, and maybe he should start a war. So he's already sort of doing that with Venezuela, and he's threatened the Mexican cartels. So one of the other options for them might be that he's going to declare war against Venezuela or the Mexican cartels, and then use that to say we can't have elections right now. Like, they're not just looking at one thing. He's throwing things out there that he's being told to throw things out there because this guy's really not that smart. He's not some sort of master strategist. So he just says shit. He can get away
No,
with
he
it.
still thought he deserved the Nobel Peace Prize, for fuck's sake.
Right,
Oh
exactly.
my gosh. Now, I don't think Trump's that smart, but I think Russell Vaught's that smart. He's also that crazy. Like, this is his
So
wet
Stephen
dream.
Miller.
Yeah. Steph here in the comments says, our Constitution doesn't forego elections due to war. That is right. But if he invokes the Insurrection Act, I have to look at that. If you want to jump on with us, Steph, and tell us what you know about that and why you think he would not get away with it, that would be interesting, because with the Supreme Court uphold, yeah. So let's see.
Trump, as far as he's concerned, has gotten rid of the Constitution. He wants to do whatever he wants, period. And he's doing it.
Yep.
Might get rid of the Constitution. I mean, I think he's trying to do a lot of things, but I don't think he actually is trying to do anything. I think that the machine behind him, the Heritage Foundation, the Napa Institute, all of the trad Catholics that are involved in his administration, there's something going on there that we don't even have a clue about.
Yeah, they're playing chess.
Get rid of Cheeto and his minions, and the rest will fall.
Yeah. But I don't know if the Insurrection Act has a bearing on elections, so that might be.
Yeah, as you can tell, he's testing. Sorry, go ahead, Steph.
No, I was just going to say he did kind of perk up when Zelensky said that in their meeting about they don't have elections during war, because that is part of their constitution.
It is part of their constitution. That's right. So yeah, whether he'll try that would probably be plan Q. They have many other plans ahead of that, but you can tell because again, this guy, he tells you he tells you everything about him and everything he wants to do. The scary thing is he's a sociopathical liar, but he also will tell you what he plans on doing. Yeah, so he actually just foreshadows everything that he's going to do. He basically tells you in advance.
Every accusation is an admission.
Absolutely. 100%.
It's always been projection with them. It's always been projecting themselves upon us so we know exactly what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Monkey, or whatever your name is, TDS, if he didn't give us so much shit to talk about, we wouldn't have TDS. But daily he embarrasses the nation. So get over yourself.
I saw a TikTok yesterday that talked about it is the overload of information that has made us passive. And that was the plan all along, to not get us to rise up.
That's true.
Yeah, well, that's, propaganda has been like that for thousands of years. Like the Russians perfected that a long time ago, right? As much misinformation, then you don't know what's true.
If you want to be inspired to stand up, though, watch Letitia James' speech today. It's incredible.
I did not see it.
It's incredible.
All right, very good.
The charges are not going to stick. Same thing with Comey. Nothing's sticking.
For
It's
being
just, again, chaos creation.
for being this late, I appreciate this many people being on the live. I'm just going to do a quick housekeeping notice. So, obviously TikTok has been being transferred, just like an oligarchy would, to a bunch of loyalists, to Oracle and Larry Ellison and the Murdoch sons of Murdoch on Fox News. So TikTok, I'm worried. Obviously, a lot of any political or civics creators are worried about TikTok. So, by the way, so if you can also follow, I'm trying to get to just 1,000 followers on the other platform, the one that, ends with a tube. So if anyone can follow me there as well, because that platform won't expose my lives, because I always broadcast live there and here, and I have a lot more followers here. So if you can follow me over there as well, once I get to 1,000, then it will expose my lives and my videos to many, many more people. So please do that if you can. Obviously follow still here. And if you can repost my top 3 pinned videos under my profile, if you can repost those, because they're all about eliminating corruption and replacing all career politicians. I'm just one person. I can't do anything without all of you and every single person. And hopefully I know there are more creators that do the similar things, but I actually have a plan. I don't like to just talk about problems. I have a very clear plan. And I'd also ask you to please read and share that plan. It's under tinyurl.com/TK Civics Plan. You can find the link to that also under my profile. So any of those things you can do, I think it's a small thing. I'm not trying to be a content creator or a influencer. I just want to become relevant and hopefully do my part. That's why I do these lives and do the videos. I just want to be, I don't want to be 75 years old and look back and say, I didn't do anything. And I think that's how all of us should look at it. It's one thing to go to a protest, and you should absolutely go protest. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but protests come and go, and they're important, but they're not long lasting. And we need to leverage social media and as many people as we can to constantly speak up, and not just speak up, because what most people do on social media is just pick a side, red or blue, and just argue with the other side. And that doesn't do anything other than make them money, because they're grifting off of it, because they get more views. And then, of course, it continues to create more division in our society. So it is sad that that's what social media is a lot about. And there are quite a few creators starting to do things like this. And we just need more of not just creators, but all of you that are watching that say, you know what, I may not have time to protest, but I can at least follow a bunch of people and help them spread the word. And over time, I have 16,500 followers in just 4 or 5 months now, which is a pretty good start. And it starts somewhere, right? If I get to 100,000, which I certainly will, that's great, but it's still just not even a ripple in the pond yet. But once you get to 1 million, then you start to actually have a little bit of momentum and network effects. And then 1 million turns into 5 million, and 5 million turns into 10 million. Whether it's me or someone else, it really doesn't matter, because we all really want the same thing. So that's my little housekeeping message. If you can do that, please do so, and I appreciate it very much. All right. So with that said, we can continue the discussion. If anyone else wants to join, and if you guys drop out, just please drop out at any time if you decide to. You're welcome to stay, and we can continue to have a discussion. At some point, once we get to about 3 or 4 guests, depending on the guest, sometimes it gets a little out of hand. But until there's more people wanting to join, and there's not right now, we can continue. So billionaires and special interest are currently on their way to ruling us. I could have included, of course, the Christian nationals as well. And it really comes back to what Jessica, what you were saying earlier, obviously with your husband losing his job, you don't really have much of a choice. If you could, of course, leave the country at some point, if you have a place to go, you got to do what's best for your family, of course. But if you're not going to do that, don't capitulate. Like, fight back. Use whatever laws you have to fight back, to push back. I think Jessica's on mute.
I would mute myself while you were talking. I was at the last protest that may be why my husband got canned. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how they find things out.
It's all been spreading political chaos, but you have a great chance for a lawsuit. Like he had mentioned before, go to Reddit. You'll find the focus groups, and you guys will find a way to fight back, and he can get his job back, and eventually we'll get that idiot out of the White House.
Yeah, I mean, I can only hope. It seems it's very I think it's very tough whenever you feel that. I think a lot of people don't, because they don't work for the federal government. They don't have an inside view of exactly how much they've been abused or
You,
what.
yeah, you've
You know
been
what I
turned
mean?
into villains too, because you guys are, people who work in government. Regular Americans are considered the deep state by some people, or the swamp, which is ridiculous, right? The swamp is actually what that is. The special interests and the billionaires that are involved in government. That's the swamp. That's the deep state. That's the oligarchy. Regular Americans, like your husband working in government, that's just government work trying to do its work.
Right. He just wanted to do his job. And the thing is, some of the I just don't think, because I had an inside view of everything that happened up to this point, and still kind of do. And I just, some of the emails he would get, and the 5 things you did this week, and it's just the whole federal workforce is demoralized at this point, and they've gutted it so much. There's certain portions of our government that no longer function at all. And I think that's what a lot of people are not understanding. And there's going to come a point at which they're like, hey, where's my Social Security check? Why can't I get an EIN number? Why can't I file for if somebody passes away, why can't I get an estate? There's nobody left there to do it. Or why can't I get the IRS on the phone if I have a tax question? There's nobody left to answer the phone. They fired them all.
I think what we have to hope, depending on how much gerrymandering happens between now and the midterms, is that there seems to be a lot of people in rural states as well that are being impacted by this. And obviously, the longer the government shutdown goes, whether it's military or any government employees that aren't getting paid, at some point, I hope that pisses enough people off that, sort of like a stay of execution where they can overturn the midterms and get enough people in office that will actually push back and have a strong legislative branch.
I don't think it'll last that long, man.
You don't think it will last that long?
Maybe not. I want to see what happens with the march.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm playing it day by day.
And I think
I feel like I'm going to go to the march, even though I'm scared to go, because I live near Cincinnati, and I know from what they said in the news that they have already called out the police there and everything. Like they're really saying some things that are really negative. And I'm not a violent person at all, and the last one I was at was not violent at all, but I'm a little concerned that, I don't know, but I feel like that's what I have to do.
I think they're overplaying. I hope they're overplaying their hand, and I think they might be. But again, we're so divided; it's hard to know. At what point do they overplay their hand and then, wake up? Hopefully, enough Americans wake up. The sad part is Gen Z, the youngest generation, particularly males, have been so mentally poisoned, and their minds have been toxic over the Charlie Kirk situation and Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and all these influencers on the far right that have gotten them to blame everybody else for their state of their lives. And, there's a real sort of mental health crisis with Gen Z boys. And normally, historically speaking, like the civil rights movement, most of the time when you have an effective uprising, it oftentimes comes from the youngest generation. And it seems like the male young generation is not ready for that, and it's just too out of touch with what the real problem here is.
I don't know if the same is true for women in that generation.
It's less true.
My oldest daughter is 25, my youngest is 12, and my oldest daughter is definitely not happy with what's going on.
Yeah. The younger women, Gen Z women, are certainly more switched on than the young males from what I've seen. And I speak to a lot of young males. I have a lot of young males in the Gen Z in my household, and a female as well. And you can just see there's a difference. And it's because of what social media algorithms have done to young males. whether it's gaming or the constant UFC information and the masculinity issue, telling men to be tough, and all these things. They've gotten young males really confused. Let's use that term.
I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't think my 12-year-old's confused because he's seen a lot of things happen that, he went through COVID and losing people and then this. And so it's just been one hit after another. I don't think he's confused at all. He thinks the guy's crazy. He's like, I think he's a liar,
Yep.
And I'm like, you're not wrong.
I meet a lot of people, a lot of Gen Zers here as well. I'm surprised how many actually tune into these lives and are pretty switched on. It just, when you're talking about percentages, it just seems like there's more that have been. There's nothing wrong with young men, Gen Z, so to speak, as as a generation, other than what they've been consuming, and the algorithm has brought them into places to blame them. They're all confused. Like, how do I get a job? How do I get a girlfriend? Like, dating apps have destroyed relationship building, and young men want to meet, if you're heterosexual, we want to meet young women, and they're so screwed up. Their lives are I feel so bad for young men for so many reasons. I call it the tech bro culture has really manipulated and exploited their minds. And that plays a role, believe it or not, some percentage of a role on why they wouldn't rise up. Because typically young men and young women in their 18 to 25s, the college students, would be the ones fighting for certain rights. And I don't know, you can tell me, NJ Nightmare, when you go to your rally this week, how many young people you see. Hopefully you'll see an enormous amount, but I just don't know if it's like what we've seen back in the civil rights, age.
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of Gen X went with Trump. We didn't. He got most of us. There's only about 20% of Gen X that rolls left. The rest joins the Boomers.
Yep.
We're minors. We're minorities of our own generation, politically speaking.
I'm Gen X. I'm not.
I'm Gen X too.
All right.
Oh, there we go. Cool.
And a lot of Gen Xers like us, absolutely. There's I got a lot of Gen Xers. I'm surprised I'm getting a lot of Gen Z and millennials lately, but tonight maybe most of the Gen Z.
We are feral though. Gen X, we are the feral group. We're the ones who drank water from garden hoses, out all day till the streetlights turned off.
That's
during
right.
The summer.
Right. And all the Gen Zers aren't here right now because they're all gaming. It's 11, 12, 1 a.m.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'd rather be gaming right now as well.
Did you guys know that Jared Kushner just bought EA Games?
Yes, that was an announcement last week, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that's scary a little bit. Subliminal.
GTA 6 is.
Huh?
GTA 6 is going to be a mess. The power requirements needed, processing power is ridiculous. No one's going to be able to afford it. It's not going to be on the PS5. It's supposed to only show up on the PS6 whenever that comes out. And it's so big, like, you wouldn't even be able to put it on your PS5 even if you could. Like, you'd only have one game. That would be it.
I think it's scary, Phoenix, because in the 2016 election, they used Facebook to infiltrate people's minds and spread propaganda. And who's to say they wouldn't do that through a game?
Oh, absolutely. Through Discord, through gaming, there's, the same right-wing propaganda groups are on Discord as well.
Well, we'll see what happens. See how time changes. It doesn't mean they're in power. There's just a bunch of yakety yaks.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I just feel like, you would think I'd be the first person here to lose hope, but I just feel like there's stuff happening that's so outlandish that at some point I feel like people have just got to be like, we don't want to live like this. It's chaos.
Well, don't crawl into your cave and not talk about it. Make sure you talk about it to as many people as you can, obviously, and because every single person you can convince could potentially make a difference, right, over time. Like,
as a member of the dark left, I don't really ever seeing us seeing eye to eye ever with the extreme right. That's another question. Like, when this is over, however it ends, can we remain a united nation when there's certain parts of the country that will never see reason, no matter what we say and do?
Well, I'd say yes. So I agree. There's been more and more that have gone that are no longer reasonable, right? You can't reason with unreasonable people or irrational people. But even if you look at the numbers, about 30% or less are hardcore MAGA. And out of the 150 million people that vote, so that means there are most likely people that aren't completely hardened. And because I think it's a huge mistake to just alienate and not try and speak to those. There are sensible and reasonable people on the right. They just tend not to speak up as much. They are out there according to the math. And, you hope that, because I don't know if we can, I don't think this is a road to anywhere. If the division continues to get even wider, this chasm, the road is nowhere, right? We all lose, including them. Winning all the time is not winning. Winning all the time is losing. And most people don't understand that compromise is winning. It doesn't matter if it's in your relationship with your spouse, with your kids, with your coworkers, with your society. If you're not compromising, we're all losing. And the hard right will never understand that rationale. But you have to realize, again, with any relationship you have, if you're always trying to win, you won't have that relationship ever again. And there's still half of the country that doesn't agree with them. And those people aren't going away. They're not all moving out of the country. So it's a complete lose-lose situation. So we have to talk to the 20% of those. Well, it's more than half. It's about half of the people that vote red, a little bit less than half, those are the ones that have to be persuaded, and hopefully will realize what's happening with the taking over of it, sort of a dictatorship, and what's happening and how they're abusing human rights, and of course the wealthy, all these types of things. You hope that those people start coming around, because there's always been that 20 or 30% of the people that are just would always move in that direction. No different than any society around the world, whether it was Germany in the 1930s, those people were always there. They just got drowned out at the time they thought it was being, crazy. Now we have literally Nazis and white nationals walking around the streets on a regular basis, including ICE. But that's because it's accepted now. And once it's accepted, those people end up taking more and more of the oxygen out of the room, just like it happened. So in any society, you always have those groups. They just have the loudest voice right now.
Well, Nazis have a First Amendment right to do what they're doing. Just remember that.
Absolutely, but they don't feel much repercussion anymore because they won't be held accountable for some of their actions. Like that's why
talk is one thing. Once they take to action, once they continue to corrupt the halls of our justice system, of our executive decision of both the houses, it's no longer about talk. This is now action. That's called treason.
That's why a lot of J6ers are part of ICE now. You know that, right?
And they should be back in jail. They should never have been pardoned to begin with, and Trump should have been in prison the day after.
I do agree with that. And that's why he's fighting so hard for the Venezuelan
Damn straight.
president.
Yeah.
Because
all the chaos is to keep him out of jail. That's the way he sees it. All the chaos and insanity is to keep him out of jail.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to bring in another guest. You never know. Sometimes I get some people that are far right, and which I don't mind if you're right. You're welcome to join the conversations, especially if you're somewhat rational, reasonable. If some people are just diehard Trump supporters, and again, my channel's not about blue versus red, even though today's panel sounds like it is. It's not. It's about human decency and, in my view, independence and bringing red and blue back together. So, Observer, what's up? How you doing? Good evening.
And I'm doing pretty good. No, in my case, I'm very concerned about the violation of the due process that is happening with these immigration rates that are taking place, where they're basically just snatching people right off the streets and basically placing them on concentration camps. I think this is the worst that I've seen. I've been in the United States for 38 years, and I never seen anything so horrible.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, and just to be clear, because I also made this mistake before, if you're a legal immigrant, you're not obliged for due process, but you're supposed to have a hearing unless you've had notices to get out of the country before. So it's a expedited process. That's what Obama used to remove 3 million illegal immigrants, but he at least did it with hearings and obviously a much more decency. But you're right. Having like what happened, I saw in New York yesterday, if I had, firearm with me and someone did what you see some people doing and they don't even identify themselves, like, how could you not take action? And I'm surprised there hasn't been more of it.
I mean, the biggest problem that I see is the profiling. I mean, they began with this concept that race is not to be used when they consider someone for a scholarship, but it is to be used to profile you to decide if you are illegal or not. And they're coming to the point where you can be screaming at them, telling them that you are a citizen, and they take you and then ask the questions later. The FBI, everybody identifies themselves except the ICE, which is, I never seen a police that comes in with their face covered and without even being willing to identify themselves, just basically begin to grab people, throw them on the floor, and begin to arrest them, and then ask the questions later. That is just, there's so many things that are wrong with that.
Well, and that's the people on the right would say, they're ones that used to believe in law and order, and yet they look the other way when things like that happen, which is just, this is not red versus blue. This is right versus wrong. And that's disgusting.
Yes, and then
The problem is that they've put a price on humans. They've put a bounty on humans, so they're gathering up as many as they can because they're making money from it. That's what I think the problem is.
Yeah, I got to laugh at a comment here. Not laugh. It's actually super sad. I should get angry about it, but I'm just going to transfer that into laughing. Phoenix evolving. Antifa covers their face and the left cheers. Dude, they're free citizens. They can cover their face. Law enforcement is not supposed to. They're supposed to identify themselves. So that's the dumbest comment of the evening. Congratulations. I'm going to give you a little applause for the dumbest comment today. There you go. That's just for you. And maybe this one too. Let's see. Like, just the stupidity of that comment is just mind-boggling. So there you go, Phoenix evolving. Thanks for watching.
I would just like to know who Antifa is. Is that like my grandfather that did 2 tours in World War II? Is that Antifa?
That's what my grandpa said.
And I lived with him till I was 5. My mom was a single mom. I was raised by someone who was Antifa. So I find that comment really, really offensive. So, because if they're talking about World War II vets, that's pretty un-American.
Yeah.
Do they prefer pro-fascist?
I guess so. That's what they prefer. Yeah.
The whole friggin' okay. So this is my theory. He's demonizing the left by saying the protests are Antifa, supported by George Soros, which, by the way, okay, first of all, I'm a Republican. Second of all, I know tons of people on the left that go and protest and they've never gotten a paycheck or even a dime. And I think he wants to be able to arrest them for terrorism.
It's people like ourselves, the ones who've been talking, that will be targeted because we're soft targets. We're not celebrities. We don't have millions of dollars in legal, in laws, in lawyers to back us up. We're prime pickings. We're easy, low hanging fruit.
Yeah, and I think it's somehow linked to this desire to militarize civilian, order. We've seen this process in so many other countries where democracy has been lost, and that's one of the steps. You begin to use the military to control civilians, and it's funny that it's only being used on blue states when sometimes the crime rates in red states are much higher than in those places where he's sending these people. And the funny part is that he's not sending these troops to the areas where you have the drug dealers, or where they have the weapons, where you have the criminals. He's sending them to the lady who's selling tamales on a corner trying to support her family. And that's not how you control crime either. So there's a lot of problems with what he's doing in there. And it's a very scary situation that I think is going to create a destabilization process when it comes to the democracy in this country.
Yep. Here goes.
Absolutely. Listen, I gotta go because it's 2 o'clock a.m. and I gotta be up in the morning.
Thanks for joining, man.
Thank you for having me on, TK. It's been great. Thanks. I enjoy meeting everybody here. Please follow me if you like what I believe in and all that.
Yep.
And thank you guys, and you'll have a great night.
It's
Good
nice
night.
to meet you.
Take care. Good night.
All right.
Actually, I'm going to have to follow on that because I have an early start myself.
Yeah,
So
it's late.
thank you very
I
much
wasn't
for
even
the
intending to jump on. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Crime stats, Phoenix evolving. I think he likes when I point him out, and because he gets a lot of comments. Crime stats in red states are higher because of blue cities. Oh boy. How about education rates? How about education? If you took the blue states, we'd be some of the top educated kids in the world. What's that?
You've got him there. Oklahoma, 50th in education. Massachusetts, #1 in education.
Yep,
Which
top
one's
3 in the
red?
world.
Which one's blue?
Yep.
Yep.
That's it. They
Are
choose.
you from Canada, though?
Am I from where?
Canada.
No, I'm an American. Why?
You sound a little Canadian to me.
My accent throughout my life, no one has been able to peg where I'm from. It's one of those accents. I'm actually, because it's not where you would think I'm from. So I'll give you 2 more guesses.
Oh, are you from the East Coast?
All right, I'm gonna go with yes, and now you have to zero in a little bit more.
Maine.
No, New York.
Okay.
New York, but I certainly don't have a New York accent for some reason. I grew up
don't.
in a very diverse school with many Italians and Irish and Jewish people and black, and for some reason I don't have a New York accent, whatever that accent may be, which tends to be a little bit more towards the Italian heritage spectrum, I think. Oftentimes.
Yeah, I think you're not so Jersey, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not too far away. So DM saying upper state New York, not really, a little bit, not too far, and that's about as deep as I'm going to go for today.
What's your street address again?
Oh, exactly. Let me dox myself. Let's go. And I want to know, Jessica, do you own any Bitcoin? And if so, do you have some 24 words you can give me or something?
I do not own any Bitcoin.
I'm just kidding. I was like, that's what, people, when they dig too deep, you just ask them, hey, do you have some Bitcoin? Where do you keep it?
I feel like that's not a wise investment. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, I sold $10,000 worth of Bitcoin when it hit 10,000. And
yeah,
I regret that right now because what is it? Almost 200 now.
I think some people made
20 or 120,000 or
115.
Yeah, I think some people really made out on it, but I feel like, how would I put this? At some point, people who are invested in it are going to catch a falling knife. Like, because it's over, like they're just putting out all this like crazy stuff.
So as an American, I understand how you think that. I've worked for blockchain companies all over the world, and I've worked with people all over the world. And that means a lot of people in third world countries that you can't trust their currency. So most Americans trust the dollar to a relative extent, and Europeans do as well. So to those people, I know we're going off topic, but it's a good topic to cover. To those people who live in first world countries that can trust their banking system and trust their currency, they don't feel much of a need, like how does Bitcoin have value? But I know many people that work in these first world countries, and they take their they take their compensation in Bitcoin and they send it back home, but they don't, because they're not really sending it back home, right? They just give access to it. It doesn't ever have to hit their bank account. So if you live in Colombia, as an example, and you have too much money, or Venezuela, you're always worried about being targeted by the government. And with Bitcoin, it allows them to have currency or turn it into currency, small portions at a time, and it protects them. So in third world countries, Bitcoin is really popular because it's more tangible than their real currency is. So I would completely disagree, and I understand why a lot of people would, but Bitcoin will continue to rise, in my opinion, most likely, and become more and more of a tool for various uses. And for very wealthy, ultra wealthy people, they own real estate, they own gold, they own stocks and bonds, they own stocks in their own companies. but they also own a percentage of Bitcoin because it's an asset, just like gold is. So it's
Buying
gonna continue to rise in value almost certainly because it's scarce, and it takes
Yeah,
yeah.
I just don't know enough about Bitcoin. I know a lot about, well, I've made jewelry for like 20, 30 years. I know a lot about the metals market, and that's crazy right now.
That's right.
It is. Gold is crazy. I don't know what silver's at, but I had a jewelry manufacturing company for about 10 years.
You have to
Yeah,
And
you can
I
almost
get real
you can
into
almost think of Bitcoin as the same as minerals because it takes a lot of energy to get minerals out of the ground. So if you're taking gold, it takes a lot of fuel and a lot of labor to find gold and to process gold into a final product. So that's just energy. And what makes gold valuable is its scarcity and the energy it requires to get the gold. And that is very similar to Bitcoin. It takes a lot of energy to mine Bitcoin and to trade Bitcoin, and that energy has value. And its scarcity, just like gold, actually, it's much, much, much more scarce than gold. So that's what all values of things are based on, like, the level of scarcity and how much energy it takes to create it, except for fiat currency.
well, I know there's some really weird stuff happening in the metals market right now, and I do have some insight into that if you want to hear it.
Yeah, go for it. If you got a minute,
Yeah,
let it rip.
I'll try to condense it. So a lot of people bought silver. They buy like the paper. I don't know if you call it silver futures. Does that sound right?
I think so.
Investing, and a lot of them have turned in their silver futures for the actual metal. The problem is there's not enough silver in existence to fill all those orders. So now, and also because metals are so high in value, a lot of people have been turning their metal into the refineries, sort of like what happened when they had the big spike in metals in the 80s. That was the Hunt brothers. And that was manufactured crisis. That was a long time ago when it was over, it went really high. But the refineries aren't taking metal right now. Like they're months behind. So there's this whole mismatch, you know what I mean, between, and also the refineries, they don't know, like I think they're a little scared. They're like, it's at record high, it's over $50 now an ounce, which traditionally that's not where it's at. And gold is what, 4,000 something? That's crazy. But they also don't want it to drop, and then they lose all their money by the time they can process it. So there's this whole problem, like it's funny that she said that she was a jewelry manufacturer. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had a lot of personal issues, and I used to do like a lot of art shows. And now my husband's like, I'm like, you got to help me. We got to get that back online. But I feel like the economy is not there for it right now. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to
I
do. And
started I started mine in 2008, worst time in the history of the world to start a company.
okay,
And I managed to, in within 3 months, I was on Good Morning America the first time.
so how did
We
like
got
how?
It's weird because I was just selling on Etsy at that point. Literally, I had gotten laid off from Olive Garden. They called it Black Wednesday. They laid off like 400 managers nationwide, and I was one of them. And so with my um, whatever they call it, I can't think. I'm tired. The money they gave me when they let me go, I used that to start making jewelry, and then I was selling on Etsy, and Etsy liked my stuff, and I didn't know I was going to be on there the first time. I just started getting orders where the day before I'd said to my mom, if I can get one order a day, I can survive. And then I got like 15 orders in like 10 minutes, and I'm like, what is happening? And then I looked at the front page, and it says as featured on Good Morning America, and there's my necklace. It
Wow,
was weird.
very cool.
Oh, wow. So did you actually make the jewelry, or did you have it made for
In
you?
in the beginning, I made everything, and then I hired a team, and then I trained them, and it just grew and grew and grew. And I think the most employees I had at one time was like 35. And I
Wow.
just
Yeah.
broke it down into steps. Like one girl, we did like hand stamp jewelry. So one girl stamped it, one girl oxidized it, one girl sanded it, one girl buffed it. It was just like a steps like that.
Do you think that that can still be done in this economy? And you know the reason I'm asking that, I'm trying to figure out how to support my family.
Yeah, and it would be hard with the price of silver that I, but see, I screwed myself because I really always sold low my prices. And then people just came to expect that. So when I would have a necklace for like $55, they'd be like, oh my God, that's too expensive. I'm like, it's sterling silver completely, all of it, handmade. So what's your beef?
Yeah.
And kind of, yeah.
Well,
Anyway, but I wanted to say about Bitcoin that when Greece's economy failed, Bitcoin saved them. They brought in ATMs that they could get their Bitcoin out of. And that's how some of the people there had money in their pocket.
yeah.
Am
Uh,
I crazy?
yeah. I would think if you truly wanted to pay down the national debt too, well, there's many ways. There's $3 trillion a year that the billionaires and corporations should be paying. Most people don't realize, there's $5 trillion a year that we collect as a U.S. government, but corporations used to pay 30% of all the revenue generated by government. Today, it's only 8%. And the highest tax rate in the 60s and 70s used to be 90%. Now it's
Yep.
much, much lower. And when I've done the math, if billionaires, the top ultra wealthy, paid what they're supposed to be paying or what they used to pay, and if corporations paid their fair share, there would be an additional 2.7 to 3.2 trillion. We're not talking billion. I know a lot of people don't understand the difference between a billion and a trillion, but it's 1,000 times. So like when you get into the trillions, we're talking just such ridiculous amounts of money. So when you're talking about $2 to $3 trillion being stolen, I call it stealing because they've used the laws, they manipulated the laws and the tax code so they don't have to pay those taxes anymore. But all that money could be used to pay down some of it. If you wanted to pay down the national debt, it could be used to pay for healthcare for all of us, right? It could be Medicaid for all. And when going to Bitcoin, if the government invested enough money in Bitcoin as well, like Venezuela has done, is it Venezuela or Panama? Panama has done.
Venezuela.
Is it Venezuela as well?
I think they went cashless. I'll look it up.
Yeah. Either way, like some of the third world countries have really helped their economies by investing in Bitcoin, and it's a smart play in my mind. It doesn't mean you have to do it, as the sole way to do it, but it's very wise to have a large chunk of Bitcoin for governments because it can only help them. Anyway, so we got off topic, which is, of course, okay. I don't mind going, especially this late. I understand it's late. I'm going to do quick housekeeping. Surprisingly enough, people have stuck around listening to us chat about silver and jewelry and Bitcoin and other things, which is always nice. So and thanks for the likes, everybody. If you can just remember to tap the screen and like, and please go see the plan. I think I'm going to sign off in just a moment. But if we really want to take back our government from billionaires and special interests, we can't capitulate. We're going to have to do it. My plan outlines exactly how it could be done. It's not super nuanced. It's a pretty easy read. It's a very easy read. It's very logical. I've asked many people to tear it apart and tell me why it couldn't work. I still have not had anyone say that it's, people will say it's impossible, but they never actually bring any proof and why it is actually impossible. They just think it's impossible because it hasn't been done yet, but it certainly could be done. And so please read the plan. If you have 5 minutes at some point, read the plan, like the plan. It's on Medium and it's on Substack. And please remember to subscribe to me on the other network, on the other platform that I'm live streaming on as well right now. It ends with a tube. If you can subscribe there, once I get to 1,000 followers there, then I should be able to really increase the amount of subscribers I have over there, like I've been doing here on TikTok. So anyway, Jessica, thank you very much for joining. Thanks for sharing your story tonight. I wish you the best. Please don't give up. Get on Reddit. You'll figure it out. And maybe something will change between now and December as well, where you'll have some relief.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me talk.
Yeah, and I appreciate it's really awesome to see so many women. I always look at my stats, and I'm always blown away that it's 50% women and 50% male, which I love. It gears a little bit older towards older millennials and Gen X, but there's been a lot of Gen Zers here as well. And I think they're the most important generation that has to get involved in politics or civics. So hopefully over time, more people will join these lives And
Yeah, I'm sorry I sidetracked you into jewelry. It's just like a special interest.
now every single of the lives at the end ends up getting sidetracked. So, and I don't mind
Yeah,
it.
well, it was helpful information for me. I was like, well, maybe I can, do that or something. But
Yeah.
because I'm not a giver upper. I mean, I'm sure that's pretty obvious. I'm just a little bit shell shocked. I'm like, why, you
Right.
know?
And
I think a lot of feds are asking that, like, why did you do this to us?
all right.
It's vindictive.
Steph, have you've been on the panel before, right?
No, I don't think I have.
You haven't? Okay. All right. I thought your profile image looks familiar, so I wasn't sure or
I'm
not.
on Will Westmoreland's a lot, if you know who he is.
What's the name?
Will Westmoreland.
No, I don't know him.
Big following. He's from Missouri.
All right, cool.
Anyway.
Well, DM, have a good night too. Best to you all. Thank you both for joining. I'll see you hopefully again in the future.
It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you both, and we'll see you again hopefully soon. Good
Have a
night, everyone. I'm going to leave everybody who's watching with the intro to the newsroom. To me, let me know in the comments. To me, this never gets old. Sometimes I'm like, should I really play this again, the intro to the newsroom? Because if you listen to it carefully, I think it's really inspiring. The intro to the newsroom, which is a show, and you're going to have this guy, Will McAvoy, who played, wow, it's late, so I'm forgetting the names. Well, Will McAvoy was an independent on the show, and he had this opening speech in the opening pilot of the newsroom. And I guess I shouldn't be apologetic about playing this because to me, every time it's inspiring. So if you want to just think about these words as you tune out tonight. Steph, does it ever get old to you, Steph? Because it doesn't to me, but I also, here we go. We're going to play it. Jessica, thank you. Let's play it. Here we go.
Check, but he gets to hit you with it anytime he wants. It doesn't cost money. It costs votes. It costs airtime and column inches. You know why people don't like liberals? Because they lose. If liberals are so fucking smart, how come they lose so goddamn always? Hey, and with a straight face, you're gonna tell students that America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom? Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom. The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180 of them have freedom. All right. And yeah, you, sorority girl, just in case you accidentally wander into a voting booth one day, there's some things you should know. And one of them is, there is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality, 3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the world in only 3 categories: number of incarcerated citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom